Okay, so this is not the first attempt I made at this boss. I tried 3 or 4 times to kill this thing without actually getting the Estus Flask first, but after trying a few times and getting very close and then dying because I had no way to heal, I went back to and got the Estus and the shield. So at this point, I had gotten pretty practiced at actually fighting this guy. This is one of the longer fights of the run. Not the longest. I'm pretty sure the longest goes to either Papa Gwyn or, which is funny. Usually he's not that bad, or Ornstein and Smo. So really, with the Asylum Demon, most of us, or I guess many people who are watching this at least, will have basically know this guy's deal by now. Tried getting the jump attack, double attack on him. Didn't seem to work. I got 31 damage out of it. The number is very low. This is one of the more grindy fights because of that. And really, you just want to stay behind him and get up on that booty butt meat. Because if you're directly behind him, I don't think any of his attacks can actually hit you. If you're a little bit to the left or the right, like towards where his thigh is at, then those sweep backwards attacks can nab you, but mostly not. When he decides to keep doing the floating in the air thing, most of the time that's really good if you have like a real weapon. But for the sword hilt, it's maybe like the worst. You can only really hit him when he's on the ground. Range and zoning was one of the more important things to learn. Later on, you might see me pull out the power attack of a little bit, just because it has a little. It seems like it goes a tiny bit farther than this normal swing does. Not only is your damage pretty pitiful with this thing, but you're going to whiff a lot of attacks because your range is about the same as punching. You have to be very much in front of what you're hitting. And that's really what this fight is. Just getting up on this butt, attacking the butt. There are 11 more minutes to this fight, and there's really just nothing more to say. He's got to slice the butt, get on the butt, slice that butt. Give me the butt. He's gonna go up in the air and slam, and we're gonna go and slam him in the butt. See, the first segment of his butt bounce, where he flops up and then slams down, tracks, but the very last end of it doesn't track. So if you just run the entire time, you can end up directly where his butt will be when you, that was a weird little dance he did. You can end up directly where his butt will be when you're in the right place. I'm just waiting for positioning. When he's up by the pillar and the corner, it's hard to keep in his butt because he'll do his fly up move anytime soon. Yeah. I guess I'll take this time to talk about something else. Very prominent on this screen right now is a jar, which I just broke, or a pot, or an urn. Any of these appropriate words for it. We often talk about something called starts to crate, which we all have different interpretations of. The idea being that you can rate a game based on how quickly it takes you to find a crate in the game. The early reviews that used starts to crate talked about how crates were used to store ammunition and health, which is clearly not the case in this game, which I can think of one time an object is hidden underneath a crate, but you can see it before it took some damage. Oh no. You can see the item beforehand. And then there are, of course, the times where the tied up bodies are in urns or pots or barrels, and when you roll into them, they release a body that 2 times drop humanities and 2 times drop curses to let you fight the ghosts. Which I guess those qualify for start to crate. And the first one of those you can get to is in New Londo, right underneath Firelink. So the start to crate to this game, by that specific metric, is longer than the other metric, but still rather short. The other metric for start to crate is just how long it takes you to find a crate, because the level designer didn't know what else to put there other than just an object like a crate. That's the one my dear friend Kaz said. And I take crate to mean anything like a crate. And all a barrel is a barrel is just a round crate. And what is a pot if not a barrel made of clay? So I would call these pots in this room, crates. So the start to crate to this game is relatively short. You go up a hallway up that ladder past the bonfire, and bam, you got urns, which is crates, son. So that's just talking about start to crate, because we're about halfway through the video now, and about halfway through this demon's butt. I guess I can take this time to talk about. I'm certainly sure that I'm not going to have dead air in any of the other videos. Goodness. I take this time to talk about the origins of this entire thing that I'm doing, or that I've at this point done. It all started with me just looking at random Dark Souls streams on Twitch, and I saw a runner. Or somebody, I don't know if they're a speedrunner or not, and she was playing Dark Souls using Hollow Warrior Waistcloth, Hollow Warrior Armor, Hollow Warrior Helmet, Cracked Round Shield, and Broken Straight Sword. She was having a bit of a time of it dealing with the gargoyles. And this was some years ago, and I just sort of filed it off in the back of my head thinking, wow, this sort of looks goofy. This might be one of the harder ways to play the game. And then I tried it, and got most of the way through before basically becoming morally bankrupt. Smash. And then Burnedhead did it. My friend Burnedhead, very good at Dark Souls. He did it. Like, he did everything. And his path through the game was much different than mine. And so I I then did another run of it. And managed to beat the Four Kings, who was giving me trouble before. I managed to beat it. But then, when Burnedhead did it, and he did a video of him beating Artorias with the Broken Straight Sword. And that lit a fire under my butt. And then I streamed an entire run of the game using Broken Straight Sword, where I beat every boss in the game using Hollow Warrior equipment. And then me and Burnedhead got looking around a bit more. He did some experimentation and saw just what it would be like to beat the game with Straight Sword hilt. And at first we thought that it was untenable, that there would be no reason to do it, that it would not be fun, because there were videos of killing Dark Wraiths with it, like comparing the Dark Wraith's kill with Broken Straight Sword to that of the Straight Sword hilt, of which they are incomparable. Nearly. But then Burnhead one started beating the game with straight sword hilt, and I felt like doing it. His rules of engagement were a little different than mine. His basically differed in that he hates shields, so he said he would not use a shield. I saw no reason to not use a shield, so I used 2 shields. I used this shield very briefly, and then from here on out it's going to be Grass Crest Shield as soon as I pick the dang thing up. So, going to be... The only rule I really stuck to myself with is that anytime I'm harming a boss, I will be harming the boss with the broken straight sword. Or not with straight sword hilt. A large part... I don't know how long it took. I'm sure I could look at the... I didn't record the grinding for lightning pine resin, or golden pine resin more accurately. But, it's been a long time just throwing poop at those mushrooms, waiting for them to die, picking up their resin and then resetting, and doing it all over again. I think I ground up 88 pine resin that way, but then I got 6 more, 3 from Lower Berg, and then 3 from Donnell. So 94 resin. I ended the game with 24, I think. So I used 70 resin throughout the entire game. So that I allowed myself. I used fire bombs and poop and some poison throwing knives on just normal enemies that were in the way, or like I used black fire bombs to kill Ingvard in New Londo. And I think that's the natural progression of this challenge, is to do the game without resin, which I think doing the game without resin would include lightning or chaos infusion on the weapon, and then I think you would just need to bring a whole bunch of soft humanity to, or hard humanity to the 4 kings, because 20 Estus wouldn't be enough. That would take a very, very long time. But I guess that would be the next thing to try. So we're nearing the end of the video here. This is the one of the fights where we'll be fighting a boss without anything on our sword, just to show what it's like. A very easy, pretty simple boss with a lot of HP. 2 HP at a time. Although you get one thing I felt when doing this run is you get close to a boss being close to dead like this, and it feels exciting because you're like, oh man. Normally they'd be 1 hit away from death, but no, this thing probably has like 20 hits to it left, like 40 HP left maybe. So it just takes a long time. Stabbing him in the butt. All this time, I bet you're getting really familiar with this thing's butt. I know I am. And that's victory achieved. And that was the Asylum Demon. First of many bosses to go. I went through the wrong door.